All right, so in this video, I want to dive into sends and returns, and not only just sends and returns, but also explore a little more the AMP simulator that was given to us in 2.11. This update has been awesome. I feel like this update was a little more focused towards our workflow improvements, which have been great. But these two new sound plugins that we got were Air Flavor and also AMP Simulator. This beat right here, you guys can, if you guys did not see how I put it together, you guys can check that out. I'll leave a link somewhere right here, but you'll see how I put the beat together, and this is kind of like a part 2 from that video. All right, so what I want to do is explain a little bit about sends and returns. I made another video, if you guys have not watched it, check it out over here, where I explain a little bit about the sub mixes. Sub mixes is a whole different conversation, and I'll leave a video right here where I explain on how I use those. But right now, I want to focus on these returns and sends. Sends and returns is technically the same thing. You just got to send a signal to your returns, and in your returns you put any type of plugin that you want. Now there's two ways to use this method, and the typical way, or the way that most people would use this, is that on your returns, once you go to your returns page, people will put a reverb, a delay, and then you will send a signal or a sound into that reverb or delay and kind of give it that effect. That's cool. That's how most of us will use it. But what I want to do is use it a whole different direction. I want to use it as parallel compression. The way I'm going to use this is I'm going to add on one of my returns. I'm not going to put a reverb or a delay or a chorus effect. What I'm going to do is on my, as a matter of fact, here, as you guys can see, I'm on my returns page. On returns 1, we have up to 4 returns. But on my return 1, I'm going to go to my inserts, and right here on my inserts, I'm going to go down, not in dynamics. I'm actually going to go to my harmonics, and right here, go to my AMP simulator. Now, the reason why I'm using AMP simulator is because my idea, I have not done it yet, I'm going to do it right now with you guys, is I want to send my bass. The bass that I have sounds great, it feels great, but I want to send my bass track to this return and add a bit of distortion with AMP simulator and just kind of put it out and do some parallel compression. The reason why I want to do this is because, again, the bass feels nice, but if I could just distort it a bit and choose how much distortion I want to send to that channel, I'm able to have more control over this processing. Let's play back the beat real quick, and I want you to listen to the bass. The bass sounds clean, it's not too heavy, but as soon as I put it in through this AMP simulator, it's going to be a total different story. But right now, let's just listen to it clean. That sounds good. What I'm going to do now is the way I'm going to send this bass channel into that AMP sim or that return 1 is I go into my mixer. I'm going to go from returns. I'm going to go into my programs where I can see all my programs. And on my programs, actually, I should have done this, but this plugin 001, I should name this bass. So I'm organized and I know what's what. But now I'm going to see my program bass. Is right here on this program base. Once I have that selected, I go to my sends. If you see on your sends, you'll see 4 little dots right underneath where it says sends. That would select, you're on send 1, send 2, send 3, send 4. I want to go to my send 1. I'm going to send some signal into send 1 or return 1. A send and return, it's kind of like the same thing. So if I say I'm going to send it through send 1, it means it's going to be receiving signal in return 1. So I'm going to send this 100%. So I want to send the full volume to my return 1. So now if I hit play, I'm going to be listening to this AMP simulator. I'm going to listen to what's going to be doing right here. So let's hit play and listen to how this sounds. So now I have my AMP simulator and I can just drive this. There you go. Now, keep in mind, something I'm going to explain real quick is I'm going to go drastic. I'm going to destroy my sound. I'm going to push it a lot. This is why I'm going to push it, because this is parallel processing. So I'm going to look for the texture that I'm trying to achieve. Once I get that texture, I will then go back to my sends and just lower down how much signal I'm sending to that and find a good middle ground. But for right now, I just want to crush the sound. I want to process it very heavily, and later on we'll dial it back down. This first knob will just select different caps. Ooh, yeah. Oh, that sounds good. So I'm listening to a lot of grittiness from that. I actually like that. Put that on mono since it's bass. Probably drive it a little bit more. There you go. You got some soft clipping right here. I actually like it where it was. Go to your bass. I don't really want that much bass because, again, I'm gonna parallel process this, so I will be having my bass already in another channel. Probably put this at about 5,000 or 4,000 kilohertz. Boost this up a bit. So this is actually really cool. I'm gonna explain a little bit of what this is right here. This section is actually really, really cool. This section is very simple. What you got right here is your bass. I don't know what frequency this is gonna be boosting or ducking down. I'm not sure what it is. It doesn't tell us. But right here on your mids and mid frequency, this is gonna just boost up. Right now I'm boosting 4.3 dB. And what frequency is that 4.3 dB? That's gonna be 4,000 kilohertz. Or I can select which frequency range I want to boost from that mid knob. So this is really cool that we have an option to select from. I love that we have that flexibility right there. And then we have our treble. The treble, again, I don't know what frequency is boosting, but you could just crank it up and listen to it. There you go. Now that I have that, I mean, you know, it sounds pretty gritty right there, but I'm going to go on channel 2. Now let's go into a compressor and let's listen to this compressor. Again, I'm going to compress the life out of this and see what we get real quick. All right. Hit close. So as you guys can listen, it's definitely cutting through. If you're just on your phone, you're probably going to hear this because it's very gritty. It's cutting through the mix. Now, this is where it gets fun, and this is what I like to do. I'll go back to, from my returns, I'll go back into my program view, and I'll look at what I'm doing right here. And right here on my program view, I'm going to go to my sends, where it says send right here, and I'm going to make sure I'm selected on the first dot, so on send 1. Once I'm on send 1, as you guys can see, it's Q-link number 4. That's where my base is at, and you can see that I'm sending this 100%. What I will do is I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to dial it back down a bit and just kind of find the sweet spot where it's not being processed by that amp simulator too harsh. Just see what feels right to me. There you go. What I'm doing right here is I have an amp simulator and I have it very drastic, and I can send any sound into that amp simulator and dial how much sound is it going to be, you know, affecting. Not 100% of the time, because the amp simulator does not have a dial where it says blend. It's just, you put it on your channel and it's going to be processing it 100% of the, you know, of the signal. So let's send the drums. I'm not sure how the drums are going to sound, but let's see what it does. Wow. So I'm going to dial it up little by little. So the cool thing is, even with your drums, if you're sending your drums into that amp simulator is going to crush your sound. When it crushes your sound, it might take away some of that low end because it's distorting it. But the cool thing about parallel processing is that you could get the best of both worlds. You could send your signal, distort your signal, get that grittiness of that processing. But since you're doing a parallel processing, you still have the integrity of your punchy kick, your snare, your hi-hat. You have the best of both worlds, and you can dial in how much processing you want to do. So this is a really cool way to use it. Now, of course, not everybody's going to use it like this. This is just something I'm used to because this is something I would do when I used to mix records. Now, the way people usually will use these sends and returns, let's go back to our returns. I'm going to go to another return, which would be return number 2. And right here, I'm actually just going to put, let's put actually a reverb. We have this analog or delay reverb. No, this air reverb. This is actually a really cool reverb. So I have our air reverb right here. It's set at 100%. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send some of my drums. So I go to my programs, go to my drums, and go to my sends. I'm not going to go to send 1. I'm going to go to send number 2 because send number 2, that's where we have our reverb. And I'm going to crank that up a bit. As a matter of fact, I'm going to send it 100%. Once I go to 100%, I go back to my returns, go to my return 2, go to this air reverb, and I'm going to just, it's going to be very drastic, but I just want to dial in the sound first. I like my pre-delay at about 30 milliseconds. Room size. How much that decay is going to be elongating for. I want that small hall sound. I'm going to go to my reverb section right here. There's this little delay knob. This is really cool. It kind of creates like this slap delay. Oh! Just right there. Once you have that, I'm sorry, I gotta pause real quick. I love making beats. I love making beats. I make beats, and maybe this is not for everybody, but I enjoy this process. I'm having fun right now, and I hope you're having fun too. But I just had to stop real quick and just share that with you. My energy is high right now, and I'm having a lot of fun putting this together. And my whole point of this channel is just to share inspiration with you, and hopefully you feel that itch to go home and make some music. So let's jump right back into it. So if I go back into my program view, now I go to my sends 1, I go to my sends 2, go into those drums, and I'm going to dial it back down so it's not fully sending. So I'm going to bring it back down. There you go. Yeah. So now I'm kind of creating dimension with this mix. So now there's a small delay and a small slap with or echo with these drums. So it's kind of now you're starting to set a mix, and you're starting to put dimension in your mix. Everything is not dry, which if everything sounds dry, everything sounds like it's right in your face. Now being able to send certain channels to this reverb, you can start placing certain instruments or certain people in different places of a room. So now with these drums, it sounds like that drummer is placed a few feet behind me where I'm listening. The more I push it, the further back he's gonna sound like he's playing. There you go. Or if I want him right in my face, just take it all away. Now, same thing with your sample. I can send some signal to my some sample into that reverb. Let's see how that sounds. Go back to my level, probably bring down that sample a bit. If this was a little too much, one thing I want to let you know is understand the signal flow. Once you understand the signal flow, how signal goes in you know, your sends, returns, sub mixes, once you understand those signal flow and how that works, then you can do whatever you want. I mean, I'm using an amp simulator. It's not a reverb. It's not a delay. It's an amp simulator. It's technically for guitars, but we're not using them for guitars. We're using them for other instruments and just creating a big mess with it, and it sounds beautiful. I love how it sounds. So if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. Again, if you have not watched how I'm using my sub returns or sub mixes, make sure you check out that video. I'll leave a link to it right here. You guys can explore that side of the MPC a little better. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch y'all on our next video. Peace.